Hey everybody, welcome, welcome to Hidden Horror. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate that. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Hidden Horror. How are you guys doing today? I'm doing better. I'm feeling better. I'm getting over my cold. I was taking that medicine, y'all. I was taking my vitamins. I was trying to get better so I could get back to the Idaho 4 case. There's been a lot of happenings, a lot of information coming out, all circulating closely to the April 9th hearing, right? A lot of information was had. It was interesting, a little surprising, a little disappointing, just all kind of emotions, right, from the April 9th hearing. And I'm here to talk about it. So these videos that I've been rolling out, I think this is about maybe my sixth video. I've been trying to kind of go over some of the motions that were discussed at the April 9th hearing. I'm only picking certain subjects, like I talked about the demonstrative dollhouse. I talked about the alternative perpetrators. I talked about the traffic stop video. I talked about what else? Just different topics that were discussed at the April 9th hearing. And today I'm here to talk about something that was kind of mentioned by the judge, which is the defense. They're going to put this idea out about two suspects. Now, this is interesting to me, and that's why I'm kind of going over it. I think I have an idea as to why the defense wants to kind of lay out a foundation for two suspects. My feeling is they want to try to direct the attention to the jury that, hey, this crime, this was a heinous crime, this was a vicious crime, this was a violent crime. And one person wouldn't be able to handle four victims. I don't disagree. I just feel the focus could be shifted in a different way. And I'll tell you my thinking for the presentation of this thought or these thoughts, because it's unfolding in a way that I don't think they should try to target this many killers. I think the focus always needs to be our suspect is innocent and we're working to exonerate him. Now, does that mean you have to present this idea that there are two killers? I don't think you have to present that specific idea. The suggestion will always be from the evidence that there are multiple killers. You don't have to present the idea. I think it's dangerous. I think it's accusatory, and it's almost as if you know who did this, and now you're going to present these possible suspects or perpetrators, which I think is going to be hard, because I do feel that multiple people were involved in the killings of the Idaho 4. I just think it's harder to say two people. I think with the evidence that was left at the scene, that there are three or more suspects, my opinion. And I wouldn't want to try to tell the jury this idea in a sense that two people did it. I think you can lay the foundation through the evidence. Let the evidence speak for itself. Let the evidence demonstrate three male unknown DNA under Madison Mogen's fingernails that is not Bryan Kohberger's. Then other evidence, unknown male DNA, blood on the handrail, and unknown male DNA on the blood in the glove, and neither of this DNA on the handrail or the glove match Bryan Kohberger. You don't have to tell the jury it's two people. You can let them process, assess the evidence, and let them come to their own conclusion. I think you can say, hey, we have these other possible alternative killers, perpetrators, suspects, and this is why it leads to these other unknown male DNAs. And the prosecution, they didn't try to determine who it belonged to. They didn't find out who it belonged to. That's my opinion, okay? But let's get to the article. Okay? Enough of my thoughts. This article is by lawyerhero.com. It's titled, Bryan Kohberger Attorney Reveals Expert Witness Who Believes Idaho 4 Murders Were Done by Two People, Two Weapons. I have to insert myself one more time. The other thing is, we know from Brett Payne's PCA, okay, we know that Zana, she was killed allegedly by an edged weapon. We know that Ethan was allegedly killed by sharp force injuries. And we also know that Maddie and Kaylee, they were killed allegedly by stabbings. So, again, you don't have to tell the jury, identify two killers. Tell them the evidence. They breadcrumb it. They will lead down in their mind to say, oh, Maddie and Kaylee were killed by a stabbing. Okay. Zana and Ethan, Zana was killed by an edge weapon. Ethan was killed by sharp force injuries. Sounds like two different weapons there. And then the stabbing was a knife. So let them infer that. Let them come to that on their own, I believe. I think that is the safest way, because I think 3 or more were involved. And the reason, again, is because of all the male unknown DNA, plus the alleged murder weapons, okay? Let them come to that idea on their own. And to back me up, I have Brett Payne's PCA. I keep it handy, and I want to read it to you. I'm on page 1 of Exhibit A, and I'm down in the 3rd paragraph, and I'm going to read the 3rd paragraph and maybe 3 paragraphs, and it will wrap it all up, okay, for you. Officer Smith and I entered the King Road residence through the bottom floor door on the north side of the building. Officer Smith and I then walked upstairs to the 2nd floor. Officer Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the 2nd floor, which I later learned through Zana's driver's license and other personal belongings found in the room was Zana Coronel's, hereafter Coronel's room. Just before this room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body, later identified as Zana Coronel's, laying on the floor. Coronel was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Weapon number 1. Also in the room was a male later identified as Ethan Chapin, hereafter Chapin. Chapin was also deceased with wounds later determined. Autopsy report provided by Spokane County Medical Examiner dated December 15, 2022 to be caused by sharp force injuries. Possible murder weapon number 2. Continue. I then followed Officer Smith upstairs to the 3rd floor of the residence. The 3rd floor consisted of 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The bedroom on the west side of the floor was later determined to be Kaylee Gonclave's, hereafter Gonclave's room. I later learned from review of Officer Nunez's body cam there was a dog in the room when Moscow police officers initially responded. The dog belonged to Gonclave's and her ex-boyfriend, Jack Decor. I found out from my interview with Jack Decor on November 13, 2022, that he and Gonclave shared the dog. Officer Smith then pointed out a small bathroom on the east side of the 3rd floor. This bathroom shared a wall with Madison Mogan's, hereafter Mogan bedroom, which was situated on the southeast corner of the 3rd floor. As I entered this bedroom, I could see two females in the single bed in the room. Both Gonclaves and Morgan were deceased with visible stab wounds. That's possibly, potentially, murder weapon number three. If you go with the prosecutor's own information in the PCA of Brett Payne, that's telling you edge weapon, sharp force injury weapon, stab wound equals knife. Three different weapons, right? We have all this unknown male DNA. Let the jury infer that there's more than one killer. Not two, not three, multiple killers. Let them infer that. Okay, now we go into the article. An article is by Brian Slupsky. It's dated April 10th, 2025. Bryan Kohberger's defense team plans to argue that two people were responsible for killing four University of Idaho students in November of 2022. The revelation came during a court appearance this week. Kohberger, 30, is accused of entering an off-campus house and stabbing to death Kaylee Gonclaves, 21, Madison Mogan, 21, Zainer Konodo, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20, in the early morning hours of November 13th. At the time of the killings, Kohberger was a PhD criminology student at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, located about 8 miles from the crime scene. Kohberger's defense attorney, Ann Taylor, said the defense plans to call an expert witness who will testify that two weapons were likely used in the killings and that two people were likely responsible, CNN reported. We came across a tip that would appear to be an alternate suspect, and we're trying to work through that as rapidly as we can, Taylor said, according to CNN. It was quite a surprise to come up with that. There's got to be more in there that I need to know, were disclosed. In other developments in the case, the judge ruled that psychopath and sociopath can't be used during the trial, ABC News reported. The judge also ruled that purchases made on Amazon on an Amazon account tied to Kohberger can be presented during the trial. ABC News has reported that, according to prosecutors, a K-bar knife with a sheath and a sharpener was purchased through the account 8 months before the murders. I'm not going to talk so much about the words psychopath, sociopath, murderer, anything like that. He's not going to allow those words. Murderer, yes, but not psychopath or sociopath. But I have already talked and gave my opinion about the Amazon purchases. I do think they're relevant. I'm not sure about the family shared account and everything. I think it matters context. What did he buy? What did he buy along with it? When did he buy it? The time frame. Was it shipped to him? Was this a gift? Does he still have it? What did he do with it? And what type of knife? Is it serrated? Is it sharp, smooth edge? And does it match the wounds of the victims that had the stabbings? We know Kaylee had stabbings. We know Madison had stabbings. Does it match their wounds? And for the knife that he ordered, is the sheath the same sheath that's found on Madison Mogan on the third floor? Does that match? Okay, let's continue. The murder weapon was never recovered in the case, but a knife sheath was left behind, and prosecutors have asserted that Kohberger's DNA was found on it, ABC News reported. Okay, so I would like to know, as far as this idea that there are two killers, do you believe that there are two killers? Do you believe that two weapons were used? And if so, can you tell me why you think that? And I also would like to know, how do you feel? I guess for me, do you feel like presenting this in a manner that there's two killers? Do you feel that that helps Bryan Kohberger? Does it help his case, his defense? Me personally, I don't think so. I don't think it should be presented like that. I think you should present the evidence. And to me, the strongest evidence that they have is the lack of defensive wounds on Bryan Kohberger. If you present that there is another killer, the prosecution can say that Bryan Kohberger had an accomplice, that he had a co-defendant, that he did this killing with someone else, and that they could have had the defensive wounds. They could have been the person that was up close, fighting with Kaylee, fighting with Zayna, holding them down, etc. Um, and they received the defensive wounds, not Bryan Kohberger. So it's almost like a double-edged sword to me. The argument could kind of make the lack of defensive wounds weakened. If they try to present this idea that there is another killer. They can say that they worked together and there was some information in the beginning. Allegedly, Bryan Kohberger asked, was anyone else arrested? So that could also give credence, give more power to that statement if it's true, right? Was someone else arrested? Like there was an accomplice. So I think it's a dangerous road. I think you present the evidence, you present it in a way that leads the jury to believe, to contemplate that there could be more than one killers. Again, all of the DNA, blood on the handrail, on the glove, and the 3 mixture DNA under Madison Mogen's fingernail clippings of her left hand. But you can also bring up other things that we don't talk about a lot, like the tire impression. Was that useful? Did it match Bryan Kohberger's tires? You can talk about the latent shoe print. Did that shoe print match any shoes that Bryan Kohberger owned? Was it the same size of his shoes? You know, you can bring up those things that people may forget about a little bit to demonstrate that it's not your client, that your client wasn't there, because now with everything that's going on with Cyrite, I don't know how much he'll be able to be of value to the defense at this point. But that's a separate video. We'll bring that up. But please let me know what you think. Do you think this is a good idea to introduce this idea of 2 weapons, 2 killers? To me, the evidence demonstrates 3 or more killers. The DNA, the wounds, I would say 3 or more killers, in my opinion. But do you think that this is going to help Bryan Kohberger? Is this going to make him look like he could be exonerated as innocent? I don't think so. I think it's a dangerous double-edged sword to do it in the manner of saying that there's 2 weapons, 2 killers. I think you put the evidence on and you let the evidence speak for itself, and you let the jury come to their own conclusion about the evidence, that there could be multiple killers, and that Bryan Kohberger, he is not the killer, he is innocent. You're going for his exoneration, and that he has no defensive wounds. And some of these victims, they fought against their attacker or attackers, okay? That is most important. So please let me know, what do you think about it all? Thank you for spending this time with me. I really, really appreciate it. I want you to stay smart, stay safe, stay savvy. Be well, all my friends. Bye, everybody.